Good morning.
Hello.
Get started in just a few minutes.
Dave, I see that you're from Corning High School. Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Are you the counselor or what's your role there?
Director of Technology.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Perfect. I've worked with Jason and Jared on a bunch of our CTE stuff, so
Oh, yeah.
glad to have you here.
Yeah, Dave Lopez sent us a link and suggested that James.
That's great.
If you don't mind, can you take the intro this morning? And
Sure.
but I'm working on another project at the same time. Multitasking this morning.
I know. That's fine. I've got the emails stacking up. I'm like, I'm gonna get to reading those real soon.
Exactly.
I'm surprised we don't have more folks in here right now.
They still got another minute till 10, but yesterday it seemed like we had, or the other day, I guess, we had a couple trickle in afterwards.
My computer does this sometimes. My computer right now says it's 10:02. I'm like,
Mine says 9:59.
my phone says 9:59. So, but I've always think this, my computer does this often. I'm like, don't you have the, why don't you have the right time? How is this a thing?
Now everybody's coming in.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hey, Jared, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Bright. Hey, Patty.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi, it looks like there are two of us, Angelina. Oh.
Angelina is Patty today.
Angelina's coming from a meeting, so I slacked her the link, like, hope this expedites. But it looks like we're the same person now. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to be here with you all today. Doris isn't able to be here. She had a meeting conflict. So Amy, Angelina, and myself are here representing the California College Guidance Initiative. Rosemary, looking to you or James for an introduction before we segue into the content.
Perfect. Yes. I'll go ahead and get us started. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming. I think we have maybe one more who might be joining us, not sure, but happy to see so many folks here on this call this morning. We, as most of you know, have been working with North State Together, with our county collaboratives, together with CCGI folks to talk about CaliforniaColleges.edu and how this can be beneficial for you and your school, both as part of our K-16 grant, but also in general, just as something that your school can use to help push forward student outcomes. One thing that we have discussed, many of us on this call in different conversations, is that with CCGI implementation, together with the K-16 funding, if awarded North State Together, and with some of your county offices, particularly Tehama, I know is very interested, has talked about providing even more additional support to helping your schools implement this in the coming years. So keep that in mind. We know that we'll have a lot of questions about the exact ways we actually do this when it comes down to it. Today we'll have an overview. Later on, we'll have sort of a deep dive into questions about those specifics. But if you have questions going along today, please feel free to ask them. One thing I know that CCGI folks will talk to us about is that there's a lot of different roles and tasks that need to be completed, but that at many of our small schools, we have some people who wear all of those hats as one person. So Keep that in mind. Anything that I missed?
No, that was wonderful. James, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think she covered it all very well, better than I did the other day.
Perfect. So just to lead introductions for our team, my name is Patty Zarco. I serve as director for one of the directors for technical assistance. I'm a primary point of contact for districts in the pre-MOU and onboarding process. Joining me is Angelina Chacon Garcia. She is also a director of technical assistance, working directly with our data analysts. Amy Martinez Aguilar is a technical assistance manager and supports districts that are also in the onboarding process. And then I'd love to hear a little bit about those of you who are on our call with us today.
I'll go ahead and start. I think most folks know each other, or at least a lot of us do. I'm Rosemary. I'm a K-12 pathway coordinator. Bright and I are actually both K-12 pathway coordinators. I serve Shasta, Tehama, and Trinity counties to align their high school CT programs with the ones over at Shasta College. Bright, I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, as Rosemary said, I'm the K-12 pathway coordinator. I serve CCGI in Modoc County. I'll pass it to, let me look who's here, Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Salter. I am a senior program officer at the McConnell Foundation and partnered with NSD. Oh, I'm going to hand it off. Sorry. I'm going to hand it off to Christina.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christina Van Alphen. I am the interim CTE Dean at College of the Siskiyous, and I'm chair for C2C4S, the partner with North State Together.
Okay, let's pass it off next to Jared and then Dave.
I'm Jared Kaler. I'm the superintendent of Corning Union High School District.
I'm Dave Messmer. I'm the Director of Technology of Corning High School District. Hey, Jared. Dave Lopez, IT Director at TCGI, sent us information last week on it and suggested I sign up for one of the sessions.
Okay, then it looks like we have Tekla, and I believe everybody already knows James, but you're welcome to introduce yourself, James, if you'd like. Let's hear it from Tekla.
Hi, I'm Tekla Johnson. I live and work over in Trinity County, and I work with Trinity Together, which is a Cradle-to-Career partnership under North State Together.
And just real quick, for those of you that don't know me, I'm James Crandall. I'm the Director of Technology and Data Strategies for North State Together, and I'll be one of the main contacts should you go forward with your CCGI implementation.
Fabulous. So before I jump into the deck, I have to apologize. My dog is on his dog bed in my office snoring quite loudly. And so it's either snoring here or whining at the door. So apologies if you hear him. So I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today. Today we'll be sharing not only what CaliforniaColleges.edu is, but how it can fit into your school district's efforts to help students succeed and how to take full advantage of everything our platform has to offer. So before we start, I want to emphasize that we want this conversation to really be two-way. If something excites you or intrigues you, please feel free to throw that in the chat. If you have questions, we do have a designated spot at the end of the content, but given this group size, should there be a question, feel free to raise that hand. Both my colleagues, Amy and Angelina, are keeping an eye out for those as well. So moving forward, so before we get into what CaliforniaColleges.edu is, I want to ask you to pause for a moment and reflect on the following question. What is a student's journey to life after high school? We know that for many, it's complicated, it's confusing, and can be scary. So now let's pause and reflect on the responsibility placed on a school district and its educators to support students to move along in that journey. For educators in districts, it can be even more complicated and difficult. You all support multiple students with multiple experiences, both personally and academically. You are all trying to meet their needs while feeling the weight of how many multiple systems have or may have not served them prior to these students coming to you. And you have the responsibility of needing to prepare them for what's to come and the systems they'll need to navigate to and through after they leave your districts. There are a lot of tools that complement and supplement the work you are doing to meet that responsibility. CaliforniaColleges.edu is the state of California's official college and career planning platform. It empowers students and families by providing them with a one-stop, centralized place for all the tools they need to successfully complete their journey from K-12 to their post-secondary options. It provides the data infrastructure for the state of California's Cradle-to-Career System, which brings together early education, K-12, higher education, and social service systems to create better futures for students across the state. As you can see from the breakdown of information on this slide, the goal of Cradle to Career is to make CaliforniaColleges.edu available to joint and high school districts and students by 2026. So currently we are partnered with over 100 school districts with an additional 32 in the pipeline to partner in this forthcoming academic year. We currently serve 750,000 6th through 12th graders across the state with an estimation of 1 million students in the pipeline for this forthcoming academic year. I would love to hear from the practitioners on the call. This really allows me and my team to understand how deep of a dive to get into when we get to talking about platform functionality. So I would love to hear from you. How much time do you or your district spend in tracking your students' progress on their financial aid education, their A through G courses, and their applications? Feel free to unmute. Feel free to throw that response in the chat, however you are most comfortable in sharing.
Hi, this is Christina from College of the Siskiyous. To be honest, I'm not in the student services, so I can't answer that question. My apologies.
No, that's fine, Christina. Thank you.
This is,
Go ahead, Jared.
I was just to say, this is Jared from Corning High School District. I mean, it's hard to necessarily quantify that. So I'm sitting here trying to think of the best way to say it, just because that work is spread over different people. So for example, our counselors are spending a lot of time on, tracking A to G courses and things like that, where maybe our college career tech is spending more time on tracking kids who have completed their FAFSAs or scholarship applications. So that work's spread out over different people, but it's certainly a significant investment for our district.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jared. That's definitely what we hear from practitioners across the state. Both Angelina, Amy, and myself come from either districts or charters where there was no centralized place. It was something that we tracked on G sheets using many times self-reported data by the student. And so thank you for that offering. So once again, CaliforniaColleges.edu is the state's official college and career planning platform. And it is managed by the California College Guidance Initiative. That is the nonprofit that both Amy, Angelina, and myself are with. It is a one-stop shop for all the resources students need to set goals for life after high school, make plans to how to achieve them, and launch what those plans are. These free resources include career assessments, search tools that help students understand their interest and what that means in terms of their career options. We also have college and major search functions as well as UC and CSU eligibility tools that help students understand how to translate the work that they've completed in high school, where that makes them stand in terms of eligibility to inform those post-secondary options. Now, before we get into a little more of those details, I'd like to go ahead and provide you with some insight from students who have used the platform.
I'm JC. I am in 12th grade and I go to Heritage High School. In college, I hope to study biochem.
I'm Katrina Kading. I'm also in 12th grade. In college, I hope to study either nursing or biomedical engineering. I used California Colleges for everything college related. It was what I used to find my interests and my major.
The biggest values would have to be the career quiz. It labeled every career that fits. That made me want to major in biochem because of all the careers that were listed from it.
Using California Colleges to figure out my A through G courses was very easy, so it would keep me on track for what I needed to finish for high school and what I needed for college.
I have used California Colleges by accessing my college applications like California State Universities and the University of California applications and FAFSA.
It made it easier because all of the applications were just listed on one tab.
Having everything in one website, just click to the California State University applications, to the University of California applications, they were right there in those groups.
Also was able to let us download all of our transcripts into our application for CSUs.
The financial aid portion was really convenient. Since my parents had never filled out a FAFSA form before, it made it really easy for me and my parents to understand. Just go step by step and look what we need to get done.
Using the financial aid lessons made applying simple because everything that you needed to do was listed, and it helped me and my mom figure out what I needed to do.
The checklist was really helpful. It just labeled everything that we needed to get done. Once we got it done, just checked it off and moved on to the next step. It was really convenient.
CaliforniaColleges.edu is just like a reality check for everything, that you do have a future and then you need to prepare for that if you are choosing to take the path of going to college, and it provides everything for you if you are trying to go to college.
All right. So as you can see, the platform provides a centralized place for students to do necessary learning, research related to careers, majors, colleges. Then the assessments that we have, you see on this slide before you, that is an interest profiler, a work values, multiple intelligences, and a do what you are assessment. The results of those assessments provide students with a breakdown of careers that align to those results, which then allows students to further research specific campuses or specific majors that align with that. Every student account on CaliforniaColleges.edu comes with an academic planner as well as a student's My Plan. The academic planner helps students review completed courses and grades and also plan for future coursework. The data provided by districts is visualized within the academic planner and includes course title, site in which the course was taken, local course ID number, term, and academic year, and status of the course. The My Plan or digital portfolio centralizes students' academic progress and completion of activities on CaliforniaColleges.edu. And so as students utilize the platform and complete those career assessments, the lesson plans, liking or favoriting colleges, majors, and careers, the student's My Plan saves this longitudinal student activity so that as students approach their senior year, their My Plan, their post-secondary plan, is really and truly a reflection of their own aspirations and goals. And then I see a question in the chat, so I do want to pause for that. Do the career assessments only identify four-year colleges that are a fit, or does it identify two-year programs as well? That is a great question. So if I were a student and I completed an assessment, some assessments provide career results. And so a student would then view an associated list of colleges, which is a national search that can be filtered to a California only search, and does include institutions outside of that four-year university. So if we're looking for community colleges or private or vocational, you're going to get those in the search results as well. And I just want to make sure, Tekla, does that answer your question? Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Patty, I had a quick question too. This is Jared. So just the data that you mentioned, that the data that goes in for like student grades on A to G completion, for example, that's uploaded by districts or provided by districts. So who, like once that data is transferred, what entity owns that? Is that like the CSU's data or the UC's data or CDE's data? Who, once we upload all that student data, who maintains and protects and is in charge of that data?
That is a great question. So Angelina, I see that you've unmuted as the Director of Data Services. This is her wheelhouse. Angelina?
No, I mean, the reality is it's still your data. And so, for instance, one of the ways that we have all the security processes in place, making sure we don't share PII, we're very particular about giving us the minimum amount of information for kiddos, that type of stuff. Where the transmission of data really comes in is when you self-select into that. So for example, with Cal State Apply integration, the student has to tell the system they want to release their, or import their grades rather. Okay. We don't automatically push data to anyone, just to be clear. So in terms of the reporting back of who applied to where, it's really just a token exchange behind that student that brings back the value, or the campus rather, that the application was related to.
Okay. I guess one question I have is like, are there any other, like when we look at accountability and stuff with the California Department of Education, are there any other state agencies that are going to have access to this or be wanting to pull this into accountability stuff or anything like that?
I can't speak to that because, as you all know, C2C is in its elementary stages, and I don't have clarity on that particular piece.
Okay.
What I will say is that we're doing a lot of work differentiating C2C's analytical arm versus the student-facing arm, which is California Colleges. And so a lot of folks are wondering if we have access to this for researchers, and that's not CaliforniaColleges.edu. Okay. That is handled by an entirely different team of people. And so I think we can take that question back, Patty. That'd be a good long-term question in terms of access. But yeah, I would say that largely we operate very much as if we're holding your data, it is yours. So I will add a quick plug here that we also provide weekly student activity reports via SFTP so that you can have raw data back for what the kids did. So you're giving me transcript data and I want to give you back, hey, this is what they did inside our system. Okay. Just so you have that kind of purview as well.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great questions. So once the students have an understanding of those college options, they are able to launch that application process from within CaliforniaColleges.edu. The integrations that the platform currently has is with the California Community College, the Cal State system, the University of California, as well as FAFSA and the California Dream Act. And so what that means is that you're taking post-secondary processes that take place at many respective different URLs, and you're using CaliforniaColleges.edu to track that progress. And so that's really a huge part of this work. And I spent 13 years in college access prior to joining CCGI, and I touched upon it a moment ago. Tracking that many students in that many systems with that varying level of eligibility, this ability to centralize it, run reports that are applicable to ensuring that all students have the necessary follow-up. I think it's going to really streamline work that is already in process in your districts. And so when a student launches that application from CaliforniaColleges.edu, that student's SSID, that's statewide identifier, that is used as a hard match across educational systems to ensure that students will not get lost as they transition from a K-12 to a higher ed institution. A moment ago, Angelina touched upon the Cal State integration video. And so before I play the video of what that migration looks like, student data, which is populated within a CaliforniaColleges.edu account within the academic planner. That information is used to calculate the eligibility tools for students. And so when a student launches Cal State Apply, they are agreeing to import their verified transcript data from California colleges onto Cal State Apply. And so I'd like to now play the video demonstrating what that process looks like.
The California College Guidance Initiative is pleased to provide you with a demonstration of the articulation for partner districts between CaliforniaColleges.edu and Cal State Apply. This video will briefly demonstrate the end-to-end process of importing coursework into a Cal State Apply college application. That end-to-end process has 3 steps. First, the student will link their accounts. Second, they will import their coursework. Finally, once the student has submitted the application, the transcript data will be available to CSU campuses. We will briefly demo all this functionality using some sample student and course data. The preferred starting point for this process is by initiating an application to the Cal State system from within a student's account on CaliforniaColleges.edu. Once the accounts are linked, the student will see an import button. The course information from the student's account in CaliforniaColleges.edu, as well as their SSID number, will populate the application. Students can edit schools and courses. However, those edited courses will no longer be transcript verified. The AG matching section will already be filled out for all courses that were A to G matched, corresponding to the green courses in the CSU eligibility tab in CaliforniaColleges.edu. And students will need to match any non-A to G matched courses themselves, those that correspond to the yellow courses in CaliforniaColleges.edu. Once the student has reviewed and submitted an application, the student and course data that make up that application are available to CSU campuses via a tool called WebAdmit. Here, you can see that the coursework that was imported from the student's CaliforniaColleges.edu account shows as official. It's not the preferred approach, but if a student opts to launch their application from Cal State Apply directly, they can still import their coursework. Here's how it works. Note that the student is directed to CaliforniaColleges.edu to log in and then automatically brought back to the application. Each evening, accounts on CaliforniaColleges.edu that have been linked to accounts on Cal State Apply will see all application statuses automatically updated. This application status is viewable in the student's My Plan and also available to educators within the reports on the educator dashboard. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you and your students have a great application season.
All right, so I see a question in the chat. How will this work for transfer students and or high school students with college credit? Okay, great questions. So for students that are planning on transferring at that senior level, they would utilize the platform to launch their California Community College application. Once a student graduates from the district and is processed as a graduate, that student's CaliforniaColleges.edu account is still available to them for college and career navigation, but it is no longer connected to the district as that student has graduated out. And then Angelina, do you want to take that second question, the high school students with college credit?
Sure. And I also wanted to ask Kelly if she meant transfer to college or transfer from an out of district school, because those also, that's a whole other answer than what Patty gave too.
So no, I was actually thinking about transfer students going from community college to high school. And in our region, we often have students who are either high school students with college credits through dual enrollment or otherwise, and or sometimes you have high school students who graduate and then can transfer with less than 2 years of community college because they've also earned those credits while in high school.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Let me talk about 2 scenarios we see often. And one of those is college credit, regardless if it was on their school campus or on the college campus, being coded on the transcript. Now, in ideal space, that college transcript comes to the registrar at the high school and they transcribe it so that the SIS knows what's going on in terms of the college coursework. The way your registrars transcribe it varies across the state. Some folks put a CDS code that is all zeros behind that because the system requires it. Some people don't put anything behind Shasta College courses. It just says SCC. And SCC doesn't mean anything to me. It just is an acronym. And so, long story short, community college courses will always appear as yellow coursework, what we call mismatched coursework. But we understand why, so it's not a problem. We understand that college coursework does not currently have an A to G list in CMP. We know in 2013 it did, but no longer do they hold those course lists. So CaliforniaColleges.edu cannot pre-verify those courses like you just saw in the video. We can only pre-verify courses that have been taken in a K-12 institution. So what's going to happen in the integration is that that student will either have to, if it's a college course, manually enter that college course into the college section. And if they didn't have it on their transcript, they're going to have to do that anyway. So long story short, CCGI can't pre-verify that course, but the integration will at least create the record in the application, and the student has to manually manipulate it to make sure that it's in the appropriate section, because we want to put college coursework in the college section so they get credit for it.
Yeah, and just to build on Angelina's response, per the Cal State application handbook, community college courses, so if the Institute of Origin is the community college and they are the ones that hold that official grading record, in the application, those courses shouldn't be listed under high school coursework. They should be listed under colleges attended, because at the end of the day, if during a student's high school career, they took 9 units of transferable community college coursework, we want to make sure that it's processed as such, so that that receiving institution knows to get that official grade to make sure that that student gets those 9 units that they're entitled to.
As a follow-up question, is there any plans in the future to try and integrate community college information into the system? Because there's such a push in the state for students to get this dual enrollment that it seems like at some point we want to streamline it so it's not a pain in their rear to actually get this information.
I think it's absolutely on the wish list. And because of C2C's, early inception right now, the wish list is long. However, I do believe that it's on CCGI's 100% radar, because Kelly, you're not the only one asking. College and transfer come up in every single info session we have. So it's really good to know that, on the ground, people are like, hey, we're being asked to do this. Can we see some integration? So yes, I do think it's not a no-go. We can never do that. I think it's like, we hope C2C provides the environment for that to happen, because we know how useful it would be for you all.
Yeah. So in practice, for students that are leveraging the tool to apply to a Cal State, verified high school coursework would migrate over exactly where it is intended to. And then at that point, the educators supporting students would need to make sure that that college coursework is entered correctly. So not a click, submit, but a import reduction of total time with guidance on those college courses.
I'll just name that too, Patty, because you reminded me. Like, we understand that this is a tool. We have no approach or desire to remove the educators in the space. Like, our whole perspective is like, give the educators some time back so they can do all the good things they're doing. Let the computer do some of this routinized stuff. So that's all. This is exactly what we're trying to set up, that scenario.
Yeah. Kelly, thank you so much for those questions. I'm going to go ahead and move on, but if you guys have questions as we're rolling through, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I'd like to move on to financial aid. So financial aid is a huge conversation to tackle with students. It's one that begins prior to senior year and really takes up a huge part of senior year. Our platform offers a free financial aid feature, which helps them learn about what it is, how they apply for it, and also allows them to launch and submit their respective application. And it also guides them through how to secure aid so they can pay for college options they have identified. For educators, our platform helps you see your students' progress through the financial aid lessons, and see if and when students have launched and submitted that financial aid application. For districts, These educator reports also allow you to use that tracking capability to report on your state compliances related to AB 2015 and AB 469. For those of you, I'm sure you are tracking, one of them is the introduction of financial aid prior to senior year. And then the second is that financial aid universal completion. So we have shared with you our tools and assessments that help students learn and plan for life after high school. Now I want to talk to you about how our platform supports students and educators in real time while they are in high school to make those plans a reality. Through our CSU and UC eligibility tools, students and educators can see transcript data provided by the district to track a student's progress in graduating A through G eligible. The eligibility tools on our platform are designed using UC and CSU guidelines for determination of eligibility and do factor in both validation and repeated coursework. The tool includes a color legend for students to reference so that they understand how to read the visualized courses within the tools. For educators, not only can you see the eligibility tools for individual students, but you can also run reports to see a high-level summary of students' progress towards A through G requirements. Reports have sort capability, allowing you to identify students who need immediate attention for course scheduling or credit recovery options. We're really talking about those subject borderline students. I was one of them. I was one semester deficient in my A through G. And that experience is actually a huge part of how I ended up in education. With access to these eligibility reports, we look to educators to determine the routines in their existing practices to leverage this information to help inform that preparation for the application filing periods. And if I'm recalling from my time in districts, it was this, in the spring, who are the juniors that are rising seniors and that are eligible? How many of them need summer school? How many of them can do some form of online recovering? And at that time, it was also SAT and AC registration. So a lot of those moving pieces and what these reports can do to help inform some of those processes. So I've given you a lot of information to process and hopefully some that excites you. So I'd like to take a moment just to pause and process everything that we reviewed. And I'd like to hear from you all thus far in this presentation. What is one way CaliforniaColleges.edu can support your district or school site in progressing towards its college and career readiness goals?
Might be LCAP, might be some sort of self-study coming up, might be internal metrics.
One thing I'll mention, Jared and I have been in on some conversations about CTE pathways into Hima County. And I'm imagining that maybe we could use this data to help us line up our programs and track our students between systems to see if they're actually going into those same pathways up at the college and how we can adjust according to that data.
I love that. It sounds kind of like an approach we've seen in other groups where like specific programs are like, I just want to see if I can couple this data with something else, right? And so regardless if it's CTE or AVID or a new cohort of students, I think you can definitely supplement whatever analysis you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much for that, Rosemary. I'd now like to turn it over to my colleague, Angelina, who will share a little bit about our data alignment work.
Hopefully this is helpful for you all. I do this, I have these conversations the most. So I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about A to G matching and what that looks like. So if you're wondering how to bring transcript informed accounts to your district, the foundational step you need to take and one you will walk through is data alignment. And so what that looks like, we shared that our academic planner that Patty showed in the video momentarily ago reviews the completed and the planned coursework, because as you know, CSU and UC tools use the information of your completed and your work in progress to calculate that eligibility. They have to know what you're currently enrolled in. These tools require transcript data that has been reviewed for accuracy against the course management portal from your student information system. Across these systems, we see all kinds of mismatches, and we're going to show you a couple of those examples right now. These are high-level examples, guys, but Med Sci 2 is not the same thing as ethics and business. Character and scene is not the same thing as theater. And what really makes us sad is when a transcript says character and scene on the physical PDF, but CMP says theater, and that student doesn't get credit, quote unquote, A to G credit, because it wasn't a pre-verified course. Hand entry often comes up, right? Sometimes it is just, I entered it in wrong, or sometimes you have another process that is creating these anomalies. The long story short, we have a report that will identify these disparities, what you say is A to G and what we found to be A to G. All right, and so in our next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about how our team directly supports this revision, this analysis. A to G courses are maintained on an academic year cycle. So guess what? These conversations occur every academic year. We support districts through not only the testing of their data via transcript files that they submit, but we also support in aligning that data with CMP. Hey, these 17 courses are affecting 1,000 students who are not getting credit. Let's have a conversation and look at why. And of course, again, some of those conversations end up being CMP is correct. We had it incorrectly labeled in Aries. Oh my God, we changed the subject area D in 2019, but forgot to tell Aries about it. Those types of things happen all the time. And so that's just a little glimpse into how we support districts with the data that we provide them with. And so this often can occur in a couple of settings, group CMP meetings where we might talk about various high-level fixes that we see often. It might look like a one-on-one deep dive into your district CMP list because you have questions, or we've reached out to have a proactive conversation with you. We also might invite you to office hours where you can ask targeted questions about a unique student or a unique course, and you want to talk to a human. All right, and now I'm going to hand it back, and I hope you guys are a little bit excited about the support that we can offer, because Patty's going to talk about positioning your districts and your counties and your programs with CaliforniaColleges.edu.
Thank you, Angelina. So every member of CCGI on the call, we are rooted in supporting districts to position themselves for a successful implementation. Anytime we talk about anything district-wide, it requires strategy, and it involves people as well. And so this is a list that we provide to districts as a guiding list for who should be a part of this work. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about each of these roles that you see on this slide in front of you. We do think that the district identifying a leadership team is really connected to successful implementation. This group typically is a cross-functional group of folks, sometimes representing different sites, different departments, but these are those people that are really supporting that rollout, supporting implementation. At the beginning of the year, it looks like them identifying initial targets and goals, and then whether that group comes together every quarter, every semester. Once again, we defer to the district, but having a team of folks across sites monitoring, tracking, suggesting, and refining, we see that go hand in hand with a successful implementation. The district point of contact is a primary role for CCGI. This is the person that CCGI reaches out to the most frequently. They are our primary entry point into a district. Updates go to this district point of contact, and this is really, for lack of a better word, the one leading those efforts, the leader of implementation within a district. That data lead is the individual identified as the person that will work with Angelina's team of data analysts to provide the files necessary to visualize on CaliforniaColleges.edu, but also determine frequency. So per the contract, the MOU states that districts will provide us data at minimum monthly. Of our over 100 partners, most of our districts provide files every 2 weeks, weekly. And for those that have the ability to do so, they put in a process called automation, which essentially means that we receive files nightly for districts. We see this being the most beneficial for districts where there's student traffic in and out across sites or in and out in other neighboring districts. Site leads can be on the leadership team, but they are really that person within each site that is the owner of the information. So, hey, I'm a new teacher at this site. Someone told me I'm running CCGI lesson plans in my classroom. I need an educator site. That site lead is the person that new teacher is going to go to get that educator account created. You have a student who cannot for the life of them remember their password. Those educators and that site lead are the ones that can help that student make sure that they're able to get into their account. And because Angelina talked about how essential A through G alignment is to this work, we want to make sure that just like that SIS person is going to be looped in, that person that oversees and manages that CMP list, that they have a seat at the table as well. All right. So now to review a little bit about the implementation phases and application cycles. This is really a 3-step process. We're really at the first stage, which is districts learning about the platform and partnership and onboarding. The formal initial step to this is the submission of an application for CCGI technical assistance. The application itself should take about 30 minutes. It essentially captures information about those roles. So district point of contact, contracting lead, district data lead, the who of the district that CCGI will communicate with. And then it's going to ask you a few questions about how data is stored within your SIS. Once that application is submitted, the person identified as the district point of contact, as well as the district data lead, they will attend a CCGI launch meeting, which is a 60-minute session and allows that district POC and that district data lead a deeper dive of the roles and timelines of the onboarding process. Once that launch meeting is attended, that then begins the MOU process, where our contracting team will send over to the contracting person identified in the application. So that process can go underway. Most of the time that MOU needs to go to board, and we've experienced that sometimes that can take some time to get the information necessary to get it on a board agenda. And so we ask that the parents complete a parent notification process to capture any families or guardians that are wanting to opt out. Many districts have an annual student disclosure statement as part of their registration processes that can capture this information as well. We do have sample language for districts to use. And what we essentially want to know is that those opted out parents were opted out in the SIS, so that when we begin pulling files, we are pulling the correct students. So fully executed MOU coupled with that parent notification process completion, we are able to move into testing. And that is the technical assistance team here at CCGI takes those files that we would use to visualize your district's data, and we put them in a testing sandbox. And our team goes through a round of testing. We come back to the district to share what those findings are. This is the first opportunity that your district would get that CMP mismatch report. And then we work with the district in identifying a go live date. Go live is a very exciting time here at CCGI. Anytime we push a district's data from that testing sandbox to live, also known as production, meaning it's there, students can get on their accounts and begin using it. It is a very exciting time here for our team. This is a visualization of the current application cycle that we're in, and also those processes that I just mentioned. This application cycle opened up in mid-March. It will close June 15th. We have time allotted for both that launch meeting as well as that contracting, and then that testing and that data alignment conversation. So should all these steps pan out in this way, it positions districts in this application cycle to go live as early as February 1 of 23. Now, that isn't a you have to go live. That once again, this is a conversation that we have with the district. So going live positions the district in February to really utilize that CMP window that opens up in February to really align that A through G work. This is a snapshot of the next application cycle, which opens July 1 and closes January 20th. Once again, it allows that time for the launch meetings, contracting, data testing, as well as data alignment. For districts in the next application cycle, they will be going live in July of 23. So just to really encapsulate what I'm saying, 2 application cycles within the academic year. Any questions about the application cycle or the processes that I've just overviewed? No, okay, all right. And so once a district's data is live, that leadership team is in motion, strategizing on how students will interact with the platform. These are the support teams that are available to districts. So here we have internal teams dedicated to technical assistance, user support, as well as virtual training. We have office hours for districts to be able to hop on and say, hey, I just need to talk to someone face to face. I got a few questions. We also offer regional planning meetings, which are a great place for leadership team members to attend. They're 90-minute offerings throughout the academic year, which is really a community of practice. And so you will be in regional planning meetings with districts from around your region, very likely to be in the same meeting space with a district entering year 3 of partnership. Really important and great collaboration goes on there, where you have districts moving forward into year 3. They can really connect with districts in year 1 to share what those best practices are. Our virtual training team has dedicated year-round virtual training offerings. They are topic specific. And so the educator that is running the lesson plan strategy is able to attend that session. The counselors that are really wanting to know how each integration works in detail, they can join that virtual training as well. Sessions are 90 minutes. They include 45 minutes of content as well as an activity. We formerly did not have an activity as part of these offerings, but we heard from across the state that educators wanted the opportunity to practice what they were learning. And so we've embedded that in our offerings as well. Our virtual trainings are available as recordings. So if educators need to come back, hop on and watch them as they need, they are there for that use. So just to really consolidate the next steps. So really assessing, these are some qualifying questions that we have found very beneficial for districts in this decision-making process. So do you serve students in the 6th through 12th grade as part of a unified or high school district? Who would serve as members of this cross-functional leadership team? Will your district continue to use the same SIS for the next 1 to 2 years? Given how crucial data sharing is to this partnership, at SIS transition, we've observed that it creates a stop-start to some of this implementation process. And then will your district prioritize that data matching and be responsive to the support offerings that CCGI offers as we work with you in making sure that your A through G lists are aligned to what is on record in your SIS. Step 2 is really planning, sharing this vision with those that you see, letting your contracting point of contact know, hey, we're going to be moving forward with something. You're going to be getting something from CCGI. And then deciding if a go live of spring versus fall positions you in a way that aligns to other goals that your district might have. We want to make sure that districts know that this is a decision that they have and that we will work with you in determining which option would be better for you. And then lastly, that application. So submitting that application, like I said, it takes about 30 minutes. It is best to be completed by somebody that is either at district office or has the approval of somebody at district office. As we know, once that MOU gets sent over, we want to make sure that those folks have the context about what this is and why we're moving forward with it. And with about 8 minutes remaining, I just want to open it up for any questions, noticings, wonderings, reactions that everybody on the call may have. We're here to answer those questions. All right.
Happy to answer any SIS questions if folks have those as well. I know folks like to ask about Aries or Power School or Infinite Campus Synergy, and we have experience with all those in case folks have questions. Cool.
I'm curious, just because I think from the folks on this call, this most directly impacts, I would say, our Corning High School folks. So I'm just curious about your thoughts. Do you have any questions, concerns, ready to jump right in? Sign me up yesterday, you know, where, what are you thinking?
You know, I've got to have some conversations with our staff. I need to talk to our site principal and our counseling staff. I think for us, a lot of the stuff comes down to capacity, you know, and I just kind of wrote down, is the investment of time or energy that we're going to put into this going to be worth it for the outcome in terms of streamlining our staff's work, or you know, the resources obviously that it provides to students. So I think for us, it's a conversation of what can this do that we're not already doing, or what can it do more efficiently? And so once I have some of those conversations, I'll have a better feel for it. I was also just kind of doing some digging into the legislation on CCGI, and kind of, I always try to get a sense of where the winds are blowing statewide in terms of, you know, I know that statewide data collection is something that is, you know, that's kind of where things are going. But at the same time, as a school district, we have to be mindful of those implications. And so, like, as an example, I think a positive one, you know, the recent integration of our CalPad system with our credentialing board system and how that has played out. Now, I think it's good that we have systems to monitor who's teaching what, but at the same time, that creates a lot of extra work for people to make sure those systems are matching up right. And then when those things come out, you know, someone's got to fix all that. And so those are the things that I'm thinking through right now, just kind of weighing the benefit versus the potential impact on work, and then how that could either potentially get us ahead for something that's going to come down the pike in 2 or 3 years anyway, or is it something that with all the other burdens, you know, we're still statewide and got on a lot on our plate in terms of K-12 school districts. So I'm just trying to wade through that. I think it's a great resource, and I think it's something that, like I said, probably eventually all districts are going to be doing. Just a matter of timing and resources for us, I think.
Jared, thank you very much for that openness of where you are and the decision-making process that you have. That's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'll add to that, Jared, and I come to this full well knowing that I'm biased and encouraging our schools to adopt this. But with some of those concerns, especially around capacity and things like that, that's why North State Together is putting money into their budget specifically to talk about helping our schools implement this. And I would definitely encourage you to talk with Patrick and Jim and Dave over at the county office to see how they anticipate their role in kind of making that an easier lift for your folks.
Sure. Yeah, I think, thank you, Rosemary, for that. I think what I can share, and Angelina, I look to you as well, because I know that you're more closely tracking the conversations in Riverside, is what we've seen regionally, where COEs lean in and become CCGI partners as well, meaning that there is a data sharing agreement with the regional COE. It allows that COE to really visualize that data and shoot it out to districts so that they are supporting that follow-up process and streamlining the conversations of students that are high priority for follow-up in terms of application or submitted a CC application but has no FAFSA on file. That is one of the ways that we do see regional entities supporting districts. Angelina, anything to add?
Just that the small school or small student populations get extra love and attention in this model, right? Because when you pull one school's favorited careers and one kid wants to be a nurse, you're not going to call a nurse to do like career day. But if the entire county could tell you the 50 kids that want to be nurses, well, now you got 50 kiddos, and now I can actually go target some actual programs and careers that meet my kiddos' needs. And that's the county level work I've been able to see that kind of supports smaller sites who feel like they don't have the numbers to push certain things. So just throwing that out there, that a part of it is just being able to see neighbors a little closely. You know, we all know who our neighbor schools are because we work with them and our kids push and pull out of them. But it's different when you have that extra layer of eyes on it in a good way, as Patty was saying. It's like, hey, have you noticed this? We saw a trend. And it's actually pointing to your neighbor. Maybe you guys talk. Those types of things organically happen in implementation with California colleges. At least that's been our observation.
Yeah, so next steps for me, I know this is being recorded, and I hope that'll be available, and I can maybe share some of this with my some of my more boots on the ground staff, and we can see, like, because they'll be able to say, oh yeah, you know, like that's not a big deal for us to take that on, or as long as, and then same thing with, like, you know, I know Dave, our tech guy's on the call. I want to have a conversation with him, see his thoughts, and just feel people out for that, and then kind of see where we're at. And it's a June 15th deadline, right? Is that what I wrote down?
Yes, it is. And then Rosemary, have I provided you with demo accounts?
You know, I think you did originally, but we have not passed those on to any of our schools. But I think if you could maybe send them to me again, so I don't have to dig through the mountains of emails, and we can prepare something to send out from James or from our county networks to our schools as a follow-up to the sessions this week.
Yeah,
Jared, we can send you the recording, but we also have one more live session tomorrow that takes place after school in case anyone.
I know we're on break this week.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forget.
So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, then never mind.
I didn't want to ask them to come in on their days
right.
off.
Yes.
All to say, I think those demo accounts would really give some that student lens and also the educator lens. So I just wanted to add that contribution.
Definitely. Jared, if by some miracle, I don't know, you decide that you want to adopt this within the next week, you're welcome to fill out an application because we can get more points on our grant, but by no means is there any pressure for that, because we want you guys to feel like this is the right decision for your school, and to feel comfortable with the direction that it's
so Rosemary, this is like you guys need a district in the county to help sign off on this for the grant application? We can talk more offline if you want.
No, not. We need a school somewhere in our region to definitely sign on. But once again, I think we want that decision to be something that you guys feel comfortable with. So no pressure from us, but if you know you're going to adopt it, then I say, sure, let's fill out that 30-minute application.
Well, I can't say I know that yet, but yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. So that's where we're coming from.
All right. Well, it was fabulous joining you all today. As always, Rosemary, please consider Angelina and myself, Doris, primary points of contact for any questions that arise. I look forward to the continued conversation and questions that come. And I wish you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. James, I was just gonna say the CCI indicator dashboard. Oh, look who we have here.
Hi.
It's still recording. Oh, can I stop the recording?
Let me.
I don't know. Anyways,